I just want to share what was shown to me when I woke, this beautiful piece of artwork, and it consisted of 5 different rings around a center point. So you've got, say, the ball in the middle, and then you've got 4 additional large rings that keep expanding outward. And each one represents a stage that we go through. So it was called the Final Temptations. And why that came to mind is the temptations to judge, the temptations to go to anger, the temptation to give your power to someone else, therefore losing your own sovereignty, the temptation to blame, hate, whatever it is, those are the final temptations. And through that, if we can break through that final one, the densest one, it's like the Buddha under the Bodhi tree, where the 3 women came, the concubines or whoever they were, tempting him with 3 different so-called earthly gifts, and he refused them, and he broke through that veil to enlightenment. So what we're doing is we're actually in the final stage, or the final breakthrough. We can choose to be like the Buddha and say no to these fake, vaporous realities that are showing up as war, as pedophilia, as a pandemic, which has 99.9% chance of recovery, which is actually even better than any flu we've had, because the flu takes the young, the babies, the teens, the adults, the elderly. It sweeps across the board, where this only really targets the elderly that already are unhealthy or people that have morbidities and would have gone from a flu or a pneumonia. So it's really not even a virus. It's a list of symptoms, just like all these other things. They're a list of symptoms. But we have bought into this because we're in this final stage of realizing that every guru we put on the pedestal has to fall off. Every presidential or government figure that we put our faith into has to fall off the pedestal, because we ourselves are our only divine savior. We hold the power to create whatever we want to. For me, I'm expanding this golden liquid light, and the more I'm expanding it within myself and pushing it into the world, the more I'm being shown in not as much words, but more visuals. And so right now we have the opportunity to break through to the divine self, to let go of that judgment, to surrender to the moment with love, with an open heart, to choose to love our neighbor no matter what their beliefs, and keep expanding our liquid golden light and flooding it into the world. So how this diagram or this artwork showed up was the center being, that was magnificent light. Mine was a golden liquid light that I was, a spark of light. And it manifested itself to be born in the 4th so-called ring or veil or plant of existence, dimension, whatever anyone wants to call it, it's irrelevant, born into this opportunity, let's say. And that first ring, that first veiled part, all we know is what's right around us. We learn to sense, to see, to recognize. We start operating our eyes, our feet, our hands. We begin to learn to scooch and crawl and walk and run. And then once we have this power, we come into this power of getting a sense of this physical being. We break through to the next veil, which is lessons, learning, playing, cause and effect. You hit a little friend with a toy because they tried to take it from you, then you're going to have an effect. So we're growing, we're learning the rules of what we do to another happens back to ourselves on some level, conscious, unconscious, physical or non-physical. Then we break through the next veil, which is we begin to manifest and build and feel a part of our own existence where we're creating. And in that place, we can just really have a lot of fun. If we learn to take our power, we realize we are powerful manifestors, and we can put out there what we really want, desire, if we get excited and we surrender it to the universe, because the universe wants to play with us. Creation wants to play with us. So when we're not like whining, because those that whine never break through to the next levels of anything. It's a low energy, it constricts. But if we're going like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to manifest this beautiful car? The universe wants to play. It's like, oh my God, look what I got. Somebody was, needing to move. They gave me a really good price. I get to pay them over a period of time, whatever. They gifted it to me because of something. You don't know, but you haven't planned it. All you did was put out an energy to play, a home, a business. And all of that for me came to me because I was playing with the universe. It wasn't any energy of, oh, I want what so-and-so has. I'm jealous. Any of those emotions, that desire, that greed, that blocks that channel. You might get it, but it will always be a struggle. It will always be dark energy, heavy energy. So when we go see what somebody else has and go, wow, they manifested that, so I must be able to do that. When we do that, we expand. So our consciousness expands, our energy within us, this funnel of light that we're in, and it grabs on, it opens to this higher aspect of self, that funnel of light, the original spark. And somehow these things all magically appear in our life, totally unexpectedly. The best gifts I ever got, the most extravagant things I ever got, whether a piece of land, job, or home, seconds before, I had no idea it was going to happen. But I knew that I carried a feeling within me, a desire to feel nurtured or loved, or have a place that had beauty around me that I could create magical, gardens or a home that I could come home to that just was uplifting, and my friends could come and they could put their feet up and, enjoy a cup of tea or coffee or whatever it was, and just want to be in. And so that's what you're stirring, that pot of creation, and it starts all solidifying. Even an architect that builds a monstrous building, it came with a thought. It came with a drawing, an excitement, stages of creation. And then it comes to a sense of surrender. So we create all those things if we're not in jealousy or anger or you owe me or I'm so meek, I can't get this for myself, so you need to do it for me. That is not that stage. And so the road becomes more difficult. But then the next veil, when we break through to a higher aspects of itself, and it doesn't feel like it most of the time, it didn't for me, when the loss of everything. So I built, I manifested, it fell apart, and then I rebuilt because I remembered, hey, I did it before, I can do it again. So I did it bigger. But it was interesting because then it keeps challenging you to get through that plane or that veil, because that's the struggle is what develops another aspect of self and belief, a deeper belief in self as we break through it and realize that no, it's just another opportunity to understand who we truly are and what we are capable of. So it almost breaks through finer veils. But the last time, I have to say, I acquired my desire, I caught myself, was to have a home for each one of my children, to be able to pass that down so they had a start in life. Just like my parents did. They got their first home from my grandmother. It gave them their start, their foot in the door. And I knew this world now had become much more ridiculous, and it would be harder for them. So instead of them having a home in the 20s, it would be 30s and 40s. So I wanted to do that, but that was my desire. But the undercurrent of that desire is what we have to look for. Why did that fall apart? Was my divorce an absolute disaster? How could that have happened the way it did? Especially because a lot of those properties were built with money that I inherited from my father, that I parlayed into 100 times what I was given. And this other person got to benefit from that. And I ended up not taking the attorney. That was the high power attorney. He did the litigator, the go after you 1,000 times. So what happens? We go to blame, anger, cheated. We go to bitterness out there. And I should have done this. I should have got a high-powered attorney. I should have beat him at his own game because I thought the system would be fair. It's not fair. It's corrupt. See, this is all the victim thing. But the undercurrent is, like with my kids, the homes, the undercurrent was, what was it? I had to get to the root. Then they would love me. They love me anyway. Even if they're mad at me, they still love me. I know that. But there's something unhealed within the self, so it has nothing to do with them. That I'll never quite be good enough because that's what society taught us. That's where we need to break through. We have to break through that going, why was I doing everything I did? Oh, because I thought then they would do it for me. I thought if I put his name on everything, he would be fair and put my name on his. And I didn't need to do that. I should not have done that. I should have taken care of myself. And my children, they didn't need me to prove if I gave them a home, because it doesn't matter what you give someone. It will never be enough, and they will never see it as the gift you intended it to if you carry the vibration of you're doing it to get something. That's a burden you're putting on someone else, a very heavy burden. Okay, I'm giving this to you, but I want something from you. Love or respect or whatever it is. That's an energy that's unseen, but very heavy. And it's the wrong reason to do anything. I thought it was just out of pure love, but it wasn't. Underneath it was something else. And then one day they would take care of me if I needed them. So there's all these levels that we have to look at and break through. And know in the moment, if it's not truly a gift, and that means no strings attached, then we cannot move forward and really leave the energy clean with the gift itself to the people itself that is intended for. Because then you start, like even in that last divorce, it was I blamed him. I blamed the court systems. I blamed everything around me. My siblings that turned their back, that didn't know what was going on. So it was betrayal came in. And all of these things I had to write down. What was unjust. All of those words I put on a sheet of paper, and I did what I was trained in Byron Katie's The Work. And I went through that, and it became self-betrayal. I saw the red flags, but there was something underneath I was desiring that hadn't been healed. So that is when we take full responsibility and we can move forward. Until that, the more you have and the more you lose, the bigger baggage that you can be carrying. Instead of like the first time I went through my divorce, I fairly rapidly let it go. The bag of that was weighing me down, that I was dragging from the past, that I couldn't fully live in the present moment. I did that and then manifested much more, went on to doing some really fun things. But the last time, it was exhausting. And it was 4 years of exhaustion. And other things came into play. My sister getting cancer, going back and forth. I mean, a lot of things came into play. It was the big test, the density of the veil at that level to learn. And instead of totally surrendering and saying, okay, what did I learn from that? I'm going to move forward. I'm going to play with the universe again. I drag that baggage with me and slowly let it go. Not intentionally, but realize, okay, I surrendered everything. I'm in present moment. I'm going to manifest a reality I truly want now. And then realize when somebody says something as simple as your homes used to be so gorgeous, you did such a beautiful job of designing them, and the gardens, it's so gorgeous. And you realize there's a tinge in you, not of, yeah, that was really fun, but of regret, of sadness, anger. Why didn't I? And then you're doing it, you're blaming yourself. Why didn't I get the high-powered attorney? Why didn't I protect myself? Why didn't I keep my dad's inheritance in my name and not allow him to commingle those funds? Whatever it was, then we beat ourselves up. That's self-betrayal. So once we realize, okay, each step of the way we're pulling something out of that big sack that we're pulling along and we're dropping it, but there's still some things, and as soon as we can get rid of that, by choosing no judgment, to totally surrender to the moment with love, regardless of what role another played or what's happening in the world, we get to move into our true power. So that was that manifest, build, let go. It was the density. And right now, we're in the final stage, I call it, the last ring before we return to the circle which we began at. But it will be a much more expanded self, like the Buddha. So that last circle is the temptations like the Buddha had when he was under the Bodhi tree. And the three women coming to him and tempting him. All right, so representing different aspects of lessons that he needed. And he was able to rise above that and there go into the enlightened self, break that final veil away and enter a more lightened, expanded self. So right now I look at the world as we're in the densest part before the final breakthrough. And in that part has the war. It has the hardships. It has evil. It has all of these, the fake pandemic. All of this stuff is just slavery. We're being turned into slaves, and people don't realize it. They're giving their power away. They're slaves. All of this is very dense energy to see where can we break through that final stage? Can we break through to, just like the Buddha, to that sense of enlightenment? Right now, it's expanding for me at that golden liquid light into the world as I see the masked people who living in fear are buying into the science, which I do not buy into science. People go believe the science and they say, well, science is real. Science is true. No, it's not. It's not. It changes all the time. There's theories and they prove them and they disprove them. No, they're theories. I believe in the divine creator, the spark of light within. I trust my wisdom. I don't trust knowledge. Knowledge is trained. It's mind control. It's teaching you something how you should think. It's not wisdom. Wisdom is where we need to go to find truth. So that's what I trust. The divine creator, the spark of light, however you want to label that, that's fine. I don't trust any guru out there. There's no political figure that's going to save me or us or who's ever in this with me right now. There's nothing out there that's going to save us. Those are the gurus and the politicians on the pedestal that will have to crash down until you stop giving your power away to something out there. It's within us. The Christed light is within us, the spark of light which we came. So it's right now, are we going to be able to break through the judgment? Are we going to be able to love? our neighbors, no matter what they think, what they're doing? Can we pull all judgments away? I make choices. I don't go into these grocery stores that are forcing me to wear a mask. It's unhealthy. Their knowledge is so limited. They have no wisdom whatsoever. Even chemicals in most of these masks are made in China, and they can put the thing and other ingredient on the box. I read it. It's like, what? Well, what are the other? They're chemicals. I know it. I react to chemicals. I feel them. My skin reacts to them. This itching kind of feel. And it's like people are breathing that in besides their toxins. But they believe they're doing the right thing for the whole. And that's their journey. That's their journey. They can choose that. But I don't choose to buy into their reality. I choose to believe the wisdom of my divine self and to love them regardless. And so more and more, we get the triggers. Like if people are out there with masks, out in nature, it's like, why do you have that mask on? Nature's going to heal you, not breathing in your toxins. And this mask that doesn't even protect you. So instead of judging it, I send them light. Every time I see them, I send them light. Even the ones in their cars with the windows rolled up and their mask on, I send them light. I hope they don't go unconscious and crash into somebody. Then the next level was getting triggered by people putting them on children. I mean, we're teaching our children to be fearful, not only of other people, but nature. The gifts and healing abilities. We were built to heal ourselves. This vehicle knows how to heal itself. But because we've given our power and authority away to medical doctors, instead of the wisdom of the ancient ingredients of the beautiful earth, the energies of our planet, we gave our power away to a synthetic, greedy, self-invested bunch of, morons. And we've given our power to them, and it's like, oh my God. So this body that was created in 9 months came out, learned to walk, run, fall down, hurt itself, heal. We are going to mask them up. So now they've got fear of people, others. I see little children moving to the side when they see me without my mask. I just smile at them. But at first that was a trigger. I had to get through that. Stop judging the parents. And I just send the child love. I just send the parents love. That's it. The divine heart, not the human heart, the divine heart pouring forth this beautiful golden diamond white light is what breaks through things, not the judgment. And that keeps us stuck, right, in this little box. So we don't break through to our divine self. So that's what this beautiful painting showed me. I kind of tried to draw it, but just as a remembrance. But we're breaking through right now. And the breakthrough and the final temptations, as I said, is transcending our anger, our blame, our hatred, all of it, whatever it is. So anyway, let's do this. We're just in the final stages, the dentist stages before we break through.